so much for listening to this episode of Earrings Off. We want to invite you to subscribe, rate, and leave us a review. You can find us on Facebook at Earrings Off Podcast and on Instagram at The Earrings Off Podcast.
Welcome to Earrings Off. I'm Lou.
And I'm Teresa. Let's get started.
Hello, y'all. It's Teresa. In this episode, Lou and I are sitting down with Lacey Cadieux-McLean, founder and CEO of Rhubaia Ventures, a Calgary-based fashion tech company that's redefining how women dress, organize, and experience their wardrobes. Lacey talks to us about sustainable fashion, hidden toxins in our clothing, and how technology can help us make smarter choices about what we wear. In this conversation, we'll learn how small, intentional changes can lead to a healthier lifestyle and an even better planet. Now, on this podcast, Earrings Off, that is, we talk a lot about nutrition and how what we put into our bodies impacts our health. This conversation really takes that a step further and asks us to think about what we put on our bodies too, because our clothing choices deserve the same level of awareness and care. So take a listen. If this episode resonates with you, be sure to share it with someone who could use the message. Stay tuned.
Well, we have with us today Lacey Cadieux-McLean. Welcome to Earrings Off, Lacey.
Thank you for having me.
We are going to start with our questions. What inspired you to create Rhubaia and focus on safer, more sustainable professional clothing?
Well, I've always been quite creative since I was a child. I was a bit of a dreamer, I must admit. In school, I used to doodle on my pages and design clothes and draw
Really?
characters. Oh yes, very much so. You would have, if you see my papers when I was younger, there was doodles and characters and clothing designs, and my teachers would be like, "Oh, beautiful! Like you probably could have focused more instead of drawing all your pretty pictures."
Yeah.
But that was really the beginning, and I actually just recently was home, and I was going kind of through some of my things from years ago, and I found a whole folder of clothing designs that I had
Really?
done. And so this is a long time coming, really. And what ended up happening was I went to university, I took business, I kind of did all the things, very practical, started a career and ended up becoming an IT project manager very early on. And then spent a lot of years focusing on very practical IT go lives and enhancing products and kind of wasn't really feeding that creativity. I also did get into writing, and I ended up publishing a book. I had a goal I wanted to be published by the time I was 30. That book ended up getting published the year I turned 30. And so I was kind of feeding that writing and not as much the drawing and the creating and the designing side of myself. And then I will call it I did about 10 years after 30 where it was just not putting the attention and time into the creativity. And it just felt like, when you have something that's so fundamentally core to yourself that
Yes.
you're not feeding it, right? And you're like, oh, I feel like I'm not being fair to these gifts that I was given, and I should be doing something with them. So it was percolating for many years. And then my husband is a career firefighter, so he's a first responder. He's exposed to chemicals in his career through smoke.
Yeah. I've read articles about that. Yeah.
Oh, workplace cancers are a thing. They do have much higher rates of
Yeah.
cancer due to
Yeah.
their
My
profession.
nephew is a firefighter. So yeah.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Well, thank you for his service and first
And,
responding.
and
Uh,
thank you for your husbands as well. Yeah.
yeah, it's they're very wonderful what they do day in and day out for people, and
Yeah.
they take a lot of risks
Mhm.
by being in that profession. And so my husband's been doing it for I think 13 years now.
Mhm.
And so he said, I'm exposed to a lot of things, and on top of that, their gear is quite toxic.
Yeah.
So they don't replace their gear all
Mhm.
the time. They do replace it, but they don't do it all the time. They clean it
Mhm.
after major incidences, but they get a lot of buildup. And on top of that, there's a lot of fire retardants and waterproofing, and those are all chemicals
Yeah.
on there that they're wearing all the time. It gets into their skin, right? I have to say they do a phenomenal job supporting firefighters across the board and
Mhm.
trying their very best to
Yeah.
make sure that those risks are reduced. But he is exposed to things, and so he started on a journey where he was saying, "Look, when I'm not at work, I want to make more healthy choices. I want to wear organic clothing. I want to consider toxins in our clothes and our furniture and this and that." And I remember that at first I was just like, it's not something I worried about.
Mhm.
I'm totally like, I'm a late bloomer in the sustainability space, but I
What?
guess
Yeah.
I hope I'm like a good example for it's like you're never too late to join
Yeah.
to kind of learn and educate yourself on these things. I just didn't worry about it. I was like, what are we worried about? What toxins?
Mm.
And I busy and just didn't really think about it. And then I kind of started learning about it through him, and started kind of getting a little bit like worried for everyone, for our kids. Like, I'm a mom, and
Mhm.
for we're seeing all these cancers and we're seeing all these sicknesses, and started to kind of worry maybe our clothes are playing a part in it. And we're
Yeah.
not even thinking about it because we point at like the plastic bottles, right? We point at this, we point at our food, we point at, and I mean, combined, I think is part of the reason why we're seeing such a problem. And I was just like, okay, I want to do something with the skills that I have, whether it's skills in technology and project management, skills in creating, in writing. I want to make a difference. And I started contemplating and formulating this idea for Rhubaia. It's essentially making changes not just as a clothing brand, but also introducing technology that helps us better utilize the clothing that we have. Now, I could talk for an hour about the journey of Rhubaia. My kids played a part. Random inspiration played a part. A trip to New York played a part. Like, there was just a whole
So many, right.
like whole bunch of things that came together. But for today's, I think that really it's worth talking about is I had a moment, and I think almost all entrepreneurs have these heavy moments where they either decide they're going to do something or they're not going to do it. I'm a freelance project manager. I'm really busy. I've got 3 kids. I've got, a partner and husband, I'm super busy. We also operate a short-term rental property management company. And so we're very busy with that as well. And I was like, I have no business starting another business. I have no business starting another business. But it just, something came on that feeling you get in your stomach from the source, the universe, God, Jesus, whatever it is you believe in. And it's like guiding you to do something.
Mm.
And it came on me so strong. And it was just like, this is what you need to do. And at first I was like, okay, this is a moment of feeling like I need to start a clothing brand and do all these things. And next week it will go away. And it stayed. And
Uh,
maybe next, okay, I'm gonna follow it. I'm gonna listen to the little voice. I'm gonna take it a step further.
mhm.
We're gonna make this happen a little bit. And then maybe it'll go away. And it stayed.
Mhm.
And so then I looked at I was kind of sitting with that, and as I started to take the steps to make this business and make this clothing line a reality, the clarity just continued to stay with me, that this is what you're supposed to be doing.
Wow. Yeah.
And so I really believe that we have to have a little bit of faith in our intuition and just faith in general in order to start any business journey and do anything that's a little bit outlandish,
Mm,
so especially something that's going to cost a bit of money. And I just decided to follow through with it.
mm,
That's really ultimately, it was like, when I get to my deathbed, if I don't do this, will I regret it?
mm, mhm.
And
Okay.
we're all going to get there someday, right?
Yeah,
We're
Yes.
absolutely.
all going to have
Absolutely.
to face ourselves and
Yeah.
say, should I have done all the things that came upon my heart to do?
Wow.
And I couldn't sit there with myself and say that I wasn't going to regret it.
Right. Oh, well, I tell you, Lacey, thank you for sharing that with us. As you were
Mhm.
talking before we started this interview, Teresa and I were talking and getting ready for your interview as part of it. And I told Teresa, I said, I really um, booked this guest for you because this is your kind of thing. And I knew you'd want to speak with her. But then as you were talking, I thought about the similarities you and Teresa have. Both being IT managers and you finding your passion and your purpose so early, your creativity, and then trusting what you were feeling, your instinct, your gut to go forward. That is amazing. So, yeah,
It
thank
is. It is.
thank you for sharing that with us. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You touched on it a bit when you were answering the previous question about how chemicals in our clothing impact our health. Why do you think most consumers just don't realize that?
I think that it benefits clothing companies across the board not to let consumers know that there's chemicals in their clothes. Like,
Mhm.
I don't know, if you kind of want to give a fluffy answer, but really
That's the bottom line.
that's the bottom line. It
Yeah.
benefits them. Just think about it. If there's chemicals in basic things, they have to list it on the label, or at least let you know. How come they're not required to tell you that there's chemicals and the potential health impacts on your clothes?
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. Mhm.
Outside of it, chemical coatings are help with waterproofing, right? So, for example, if you're into hiking, camping, that sort of thing, you're not going to want to skip that just
Mhm.
from a practicality perspective. But I think that people want the choice and they want to be informed. They want to make informed choices.
Right.
They don't want to be saddled with health consequences and just not be told. Now, when we purchase something from the pharmacy, we're required to have warning labels or be told certain things, right? And then it's up to us if we want to take that risk and if we want to purchase that item. So most of the clothing that we wear is fast fashion. So it's synthetics. It's made of plastics, right? Or some form of it, or a blend of
Mhm.
natural fibers and plastics. Now, there's not just the chemical component to it, but when you throw a plastic bottle away, everybody knows that if it ends up in a landfill, it takes years and years, hundreds of years
Great. Yeah.
potentially to break
Yeah.
down. They never think about the fact that the majority of our clothes end up in landfills. A very small percentage don't actually. If you're wearing mostly synthetic clothes, up to 80% at least. And just think about that. That's all ending up in a landfill. And it's taking, for example, polyester, which is very popular uh, is for creating clothing or fabrics, that takes up to 200 years to break down, if not more.
Mm.
So on top of the coatings that they put on us, we also have to think about the environment and think about the impact of what we're wearing and ultimately where it ends up.
Mm.
And the other thing we never really they're talking about it more and more, but up until this point, I would say that there hasn't been a lot of attention on it, is when your synthetic clothes break down, they don't just break down and return to the earth and feed a tree, right? Like, the life cycle.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
happens is they break down into mush. That mush that plasticky mush turns into small little particles as it breaks down of microplastics.
Yeah.
Those small little particles end up in our waterways
Mm-hmm.
through the soil, through whatever.
Mm-hmm.
They end up in our waterways, and ultimately they end up in the food we eat.
Yeah.
And then what happens is it can not all, in all cases, it finds its way into animals, it finds its way into us if we consume. And so it's now we're starting to learn more about microplastics. There's starting to be more studies coming out. They're finding it in your brain. They're
Mm-hmm.
finding it everywhere inside of you. You're
Yeah.
consuming it. You're breathing it in. If you wear synthetic clothes, they have little small fibers that are always coming off, and you're actually breathing those in. Those are ending up inside of you.
Wow. Didn't
And
think about that.
you don't think about it because we tend to focus on what we can see
Yeah.
and perceive.
Yeah.
And
Right.
so ever since I started on this journey, again, I was very late to the game. I've just continually learned more and more and more. And then I tried to put myself back in my old shoes before I knew all of this. And I was like, okay, like, what can I do? Well, uh, we can create a sustainable clothing brand. Okay. That's one thing we can do. Uh, I can also utilize my experience in technology in order to revisit the way that we interact with our clothes and the process associated with how we buy and select and wear our clothes on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe we can even revisit longevity, or we can introduce other means to improve our interactions and reduce waste. And so we ended up creating a virtual wardrobe app that is coming out in May, and it's essentially been designed to help us to wear the clothes that we own longer as well, and
Nice.
to utilize the technology um,
Mm-hmm.
to help us to pick out outfit combinations with clothes that might have found the dusty recesses of our closets, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So as I'm researching and learning all this, I actually started looking up how much do we wear our clothes before they find those dusty recesses. And so I ended up finding out it was around usually 7 to 10 times you wear your clothes before most of them, again, that's not all of them, most of them end up kind of disappearing or kind of eventually finding themselves either hopefully into Goodwill but eventually into landfills.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, oh, wow. Um, we're all guilty of it. We go to the store and we see a shirt that we have, and we already own that shirt and say a blue color, and we have like three other shirts in that
Mm-hmm.
look almost identical or very, very
Right.
similar to
Yeah.
it that we forgot we own.
Mm-hmm.
And then we just buy another one, right?
Right. Right.
So everyone's always like, oh, well, it's interesting how you have a brand and you're also introducing an app that's helping you wear your clothes longer. I've had people say, oh, doesn't that not correlate for sales? And I was like, well, am I really a champion of sustainability if I'm not
Mm-hmm.
pioneering utilizing the clothes that we have longer? Most people also say, oh, well, even if I get into this whole sustainable clothing space, uh, it's expensive. I've got a wardrobe I've spent years building, and I can maybe afford to buy one
Mm-hmm.
blazer, one pair of pants, or whatever every so often. But the majority of it, like I need to make do with, and I don't want to be feeling guilty about the synthetic clothes I have. I have synthetic clothes. I also cannot, not right now anyway, can't afford to be going and replacing all of my clothes. And so if we can utilize the clothing that we have and come up with
Mm-hmm.
awesome outfit combinations, we are actually making a difference in for the environment.
Mm-hmm.
And even if we start making sustainable clothing choices here and there and start kind of slowly
Right.
moving towards organic clothes, that if you really
Yeah.
think about it, an organic cotton blazer ends up in a landfill, it's going to break down just like
Right.
anything else
Yeah.
breaks down on earth, and it's going to go back to the
Mm.
environment, into the cycle of life, right? Bamboo, for example, also same thing, natural, it's
Right.
going to break down,
Yeah.
it's going to contribute. So if we start to make even small incremental choices, they're
Mm-hmm.
going to accumulate on a large scale
Yeah.
as to really impactful um, improvements
Yeah.
across the board. So we've got that. And the other thing we did as we were designing out our solution was we decided, we looked at gaming actually. And my son was helping me come up with ideas on how we were going to kind of pioneer and reinvent how we interact with our clothes. And he said, well, mom, like, and he plays games, like all kinds of different ones. And he said, well, why don't you introduce digital versions of clothes? Like, so you can try it
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
as well. And then when you guys do your virtual app, why don't you have, like we have on games, like at the beginning, where you can dress your character up and you can actually try your clothes on that you own on your
Mm.
avatar. And I was
I
like,
like that.
Yeah. That's on
yes,
your,
Yeah.
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Leave
Yeah.
it to a teenage
Yeah.
boy's 15.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I was like, brilliant. He actually gave me a list. He went through my whole initial idea and for this whole platform. And then he gave me a list of ideas he had on how to improve it from
Mm-hmm.
like a gaming perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And digital clothes came out of that.
Right.
And so we did that. So when you go on to and check
Yeah.
out
I
Rhubaia,
saw that. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, you can actually buy digital versions of your clothes
Yeah.
that are
I
going to
saw that.
integrate.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can try them on. And
Yeah.
so if you're not ready to execute a purchase, you can go ahead, buy a much more affordable digital version of it, put it in your closet, see how it works in your
Yeah.
closet with other clothes you own. And so
Yeah.
that you can have a capsule wardrobe or have some outfit combinations, and then you can actually try it on your avatar. Now, the avatar looks just like you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's actually we have I know that we'll be live probably by the time people see the podcast, but we have an ad coming out here, a post on our social media where we're introducing the avatar for the first time
Okay.
shortly. Like I think it might even be today or tomorrow. It's really cool. It looks exactly like you, and you can try your clothes on. You can
Mm-hmm.
try different outfit combinations, and you can get a real sense of what it looks like. And then when you're ready, you can go ahead and you can execute your physical purchase as well, so
Wow.
that you
That.
you have that article. So yeah, we had to build this from the ground up because we couldn't find anybody else who was doing this
Mm-hmm.
exact thing, like
Yeah.
Yeah.
revisiting the whole process of designing clothes, purchasing clothes, selecting clothes. If you think about it, like Teresa would understand this, it's really manual,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like Lou and Teresa, like
Mm-hmm.
it's really manual. We stand in our closet. We have all this incredible technology and AI technology, and we still every day have this incredibly traditional manual process of
Yeah.
what am I going to wear? And I was doing it
Yeah.
earlier, actually.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
What am
Yeah.
I going to wear? Well, then I used the app because I have it on my phone, right? Because we're just doing
Yeah.
final testing, and ended up coming up with an outfit combination and be like, okay, that looks nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Wow.
like that. I like
Yeah.
that. I hope you're copywriting everything because
Yes.
like you
Yeah.
said, it's not in the market yet. But
Yes.
Yeah.
once
Yeah.
everyone sees this and it
Yeah.
goes viral, it's going to be hard not to have copycats out
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Oh,
Wow.
But
yes.
I
Yeah.
do have a question for you though. What makes
Mhm.
your clothing sustainable? Is it bamboo and is it cotton? Are your outfits made from those
Fabric
materials?
and
Yeah,
materials.
fabric. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, we actually, most of our fabrics are certified as well, so
Okay.
non-toxic, and they're certified ethical
Okay.
production as
Okay.
well. So we're not just saying it's organic, we're making sure it's organic and that
Yeah.
it's produced well. Yeah, it's all natural. Most of it, let's put it, cotton is natural, bamboo is natural. Our belts are made of cork and eucalyptus leather. There's
Okay.
some refining that goes into the eucalyptus leather to make it like a material to use in belts. And then of course cork is all natural. So the interesting thing about a cork product is cork doesn't when you obtain the cork from the tree, it doesn't kill the tree.
Mm-hmm.
So the tree can grow new cork back over the course of a few years. So it's not like, you cut down the tree and that's it for it. The
Mm-hmm.
cork tree lives on even if you take the cork from it. So it's a very good for the environment material. The other thing that we've introduced is, and I didn't know this actually until I started picking up fabrics, is that there's a fabric called Bamberg silk, and it's made from cotton linters, so kind of the offput of cotton, and then it's kind of blended together to create a material that looks exactly like silk. Like you
Oh,
can
wow.
hold a silk scarf next to a Bamberg silk scarf, and you won't even be able to tell the difference.
Yeah.
But when silk is made, they boil the silkworms, or they kill them essentially in order to create the silk. And so when it came down to it, yes, silk is natural, but we don't have to choose silk. We could choose this Bamberg silk product. And so we ended up saying, you know what, we're going to do
Mm-hmm.
Bemberg silk. It kind of, it made us feel better just
Yeah.
ethically and everything else. So our silk products, our dress that is made of silk is actually made of this Bemberg satin or
Mm-hmm.
silk satin product. And it's phenomenal. I'm really pleased with it. And
Yeah.
I think the consumers would be as well.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, I have nothing against silk. I'm not saying anything against it. It's just, again,
We
we were
get it.
quite interested
Yeah.
and we're like,
Yeah.
let's do it. So that's another product or material that we use. Every single material we use, there was thought that went into it, and
Mm-hmm.
making sure that it fit in with sustainability. And again,
Mm-hmm.
that if it returned to the environment, it would break down and be earth friendly.
I love
Well,
that.
I tell you,
Mhm.
Lacey, you have shared so much information to educate our audience in terms of, how to better utilize virtual closets to make them feel more confident in their choices. You talked to us a lot about sustainable fashion, but how did your background in IT, project management, and being an entrepreneur shape your approach to fashion tech?
I think that being an IT project manager was the difference between success and failure. It's a lot to take on, even just doing a clothing brand and
Mm-hmm.
designing it and deploying it and just starting an online store,
Mm-hmm.
developing a Shopify site. There's a whole project that went into that. Now we're bringing in, okay, introducing and creating the concept of digital clothes, which again, we didn't have anybody to turn to
Mm-hmm.
as an example. We
Mm-hmm.
we really built that from the ground up, and I can't even get into how complicated it gets when you need
I
to
can't even imagine. Yeah.
set that up and make sure that it's compliant. Data security, PIPEDA, like the European data security rules, like just making sure that we're set up for success globally. Being a project manager who has to deal with change management and organizing the team and making sure that they're submitting status reports and staying on schedule and have a project plan, and that just understanding where I'm best suited to spend my time, making sure I don't try to do all the work, but that I'm helping drive folks on the team that are doing it, and making sure that there's clear task assignments. All of that
Wow.
ends up playing into it, especially when you're introducing a whole new way of doing things.
Yeah. Yeah.
And testing also, if it would be just so, I think anybody can do it, and they do all the time in the entrepreneurial space. Anybody who has a passion, a heart, and grit, and drive, and determination, you can do it. But I've spent 16 years learning lessons, is the way to put it. And I'm able to take those years of lessons and apply it to establishing this company. If I
Wow.
didn't have those years of doing it wrong or making the mistake, then I would go and be learning and making those
Mm-hmm.
mistakes and learning all those lessons on my company.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that we would have been able to move as quickly as my team has moved and deploy this idea and this solution as quickly as we have. It would have
Wow.
taken a few more years because we've had to pivot. Any entrepreneur will tell you, oh my gosh, we have had to pivot. It's things happen, crazy things you never thought of, especially when you're dealing with global teams. My
Right.
team works all like from many different countries. We're dealing with manufacturers in different places. We're dealing with warehousing, with the clothes. We're dealing with developers and there's so many different vendors and people involved when you're building an Apple, like an iOS and Android app. You're not just you have to submit your code and your build to Apple. They have to take a look at it and they have to approve it. And you can do that in stages, and it sets to make sure that everything is good and that it's going to be ready for the Play Store before it actually gets posted. And so we're dealing with Apple, we're dealing with the Android folks, we're dealing with the warehousing and 3PL so that we're ready to send the products out. So when you start getting into all of that, that's a lot of things going on top of building our marketing campaigns, our email
Yeah.
marketing,
Wow. Yeah.
our social media. Like it's a
Yeah.
major operation of things going on, and it's basically it's a bunch of projects um, within a program of activities, which is the Rhubaia launch program. And
Wow.
so we have to make sure that we're hitting, and they're all dependent, right? When you got a big launch coming, everything is
Yeah.
dependent. And in order for everything to converge and for that launch, you have to do a lot of testing, a lot of validating, all of that. Project management in a nutshell.
Yeah.
It is project managing over here, over here, over here, and just trying to keep everybody on schedule, on task. And if you're not a good communicator, you're going to have people falling behind because they don't know when the due date is. So when do I have to have this done, and what else is happening that's dependent on me having this done,
Right.
right?
Okay. Yeah.
And so it would be again possible, but there would be a lot of things that are going to go wrong, even for folks that are involved in my team members. I got an amazing team, phenomenal team. They are so committed to this. They are so excited for people to see their hard work. And they put in an incredible amount of effort to make this happen. I'm so proud of them across the board, and I wish everyone had them.
So,
But you need a skill to build a good team too. That's
oh,
a whole other,
absolutely.
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So,
Right?
so, so that business, the clothing business, the rental, property management business, the three
Yes.
kids. Okay. So tell me how many AI bots or agents are you using to help manage all of that? I know you are.
Well, and I do still freelance project manage as
Oh,
well.
okay. Okay.
Like
Oh,
so,
wow. Yeah.
so and that's a full-time full.
Yeah.
Okay, so I admit I get up early in the morning and I meet with my overseas team members in the morning before I start my freelancing job. So I'm up super early at meetings
Hmm.
with them, and then I start my freelancing job and I focus on that because that needs all my attention throughout the day. And then again, because I have overseas team members, when they're waking up and wanting to start their day, it's late at night, so it's usually around 10
Yeah.
or 11 p.m. for me. So I actually do meetings before I go to bed as well. I'm usually starting working around 9:30, 10 p.m., and then going until I go to sleep, and then do it all again the next day, plus the kids. And I think that there is a certain amount of the project management experience that goes into my day, which is understanding what is the highest priority,
Hmm.
having really understanding partner and kids, and who are just used to me. I don't even know if they know what it's like to have a mom that's not like doing a million things at once.
Hmm.
They're
Hmm.
very supportive. They are amazingly supportive. They get it. They're super excited. They know it takes sacrifice. They know these
Yeah.
things don't just get handed to you. You need to
Right.
be gritty. You need to be
Yeah.
determined, and you just need to do whatever it takes, or it just won't happen.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
the difference between success and failure ultimately is you, right?
Right.
And
Right.
Right.
if you have self-defeating thoughts and self-defeating, like, oh, I can't do this, this is too much, versus, okay, this is a lot. And trust me, I was having that day yesterday. Instead of being like, okay, I quit, you have to be like, this is too much, this is crazy.
Yeah.
You just have to be like, all right, quitting's not an option. We're a little bit far for that. So how do I make it happen? And
Right.
changing that whole mentality to
Mhm.
like, okay, problem, solution, let's get, and also not allowing yourself to sit in defeat too long.
Mhm.
So it's like, okay, you kind of have to say like, okay, you get 5 minutes, maybe 10
Right,
if
right,
you're
right.
lucky, and you can feel sorry for yourself for a couple of minutes, and then you got to get over it because you don't have time for
Yeah,
that.
Right.
yeah, yeah,
Right.
so true.
Yeah.
Well, Lacey, I tell you, those are all of the questions that we have for you today. Thank you so much for joining us here at Earrings Off. Kudos to you for all you're doing. I tell you, all the very best to you on your launch and Rhubaia and all your many efforts to make this a better environment, not only for yourself, your husband, but for all of us. We applaud what you are doing. Do you have any parting words or advice for our audience who maybe want to make their wardrobe more eco-friendly and health conscious to just do what they can? Any parting words for our audience?
I think that take it one step at a time. Don't try to solve the problem all at once. Solve it in incremental pieces. Um, make small incremental changes, and eventually those will lead to to a lot more changes. I think that one of the things that really intimidated me getting into the sustainability space was worrying about not I don't belong because again I was a bit late to the game. And then I realized, well, that's not very good because are we saying that if you haven't spent your life in the sustainability space, you have no place there? And so it's the encouragement that I would give to
Hmm.
the listeners
Hmm.
is those little baby steps lead to something much bigger.
Okay.
And even if you start small, that's okay. And don't you worry, we got you. And you don't have to solve all the world's problems all at once.
And how can our listeners get in touch with you? Your website, contact information, please.
So if you go to rhubaia.com, that's the best place to get in touch. Please subscribe and follow along. We send out a lot of information, newsletters, also following on social media. We're ultimately building a community of people supporting each other and being there and starting these conversations so that hopefully we can be a part of larger change.
Hmm.
And we just would love for folks to come along on the journey.
Okay. Again, thank you so very much for joining us here at Earrings Off, for educating us and encouraging us. Take good care.
Thank you.